I'm Amy Cherry. This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, here to wow ya. The third wave of COVID-19 is in full force across the country, and here in Flagler County, it's no exception. Flagler County Health Officer Bob Snyder.
Just 2 months ago, we were averaging 70 to 75 positive cases a week, and now we're somewhere in the 160 to 175 range a week. Positivity rate is 6.8%. 43 folks from Flagler County have passed from COVID-related illness. Emergency room visits related to COVID-like symptoms are increasing.
Snyder tells WNZF a dozen patients are currently hospitalized with COVID symptoms in Flagler County, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. A vaccine is on the way. Snyder says planning is underway with the first dosages due in about 2 weeks. The vaccine, he says, will be administered in phases.
Phase 1A is going to be healthcare workers and first responders. Phase 1B will be people with high-risk conditions and those in long-term care facilities, nursing homes, and we'll have Walgreens and CVS provide vaccines for those residents at our facilities. And then the second phase and third phase will be the largest. Second phase will be people who work in critical positions, people over the age of 65 with underlying conditions, correctional facilities, schools. And then phase 3 would be the big general public.
Snyder says they'll also be adding staff to continue doing testing while simultaneously doing mass vaccinations.
Having Monday through Sunday vaccination capability, at least 2 locations a day throughout the county, whether that's a church like Mother Ann Seton, where we're at now doing community testing, or Santa Maria del Mar, or maybe the community center will be at Cattleman's Hall, but 2 locations a day. But we do have the capability through the freezer, 7-foot-tall freezer at Marineland, to store the Pfizer vaccines, the ultra-cold product.
The general public shouldn't expect to see the vaccine until spring or summer of next year. A suspect is behind bars after leading police on a chase that ended in Flagler County. John Arking reports.
The Flagler County Sheriff's Office says they were notified by the Ormond Beach Police Department Thursday afternoon a vehicle involved in a strong-arm robbery in their jurisdiction may be traveling through Flagler County. As they gave chase, Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley says they then received updated information on the suspect.
Then Ormond Beach Police advised that the charges were no longer felony charges and that they only had misdemeanor charges. Our deputies ended our attempt to apprehend the fleeing vehicle. However, the vehicle continued to flee recklessly in Flagler County, and deputies started receiving citizen calls about a reckless driver. At that point, our deputies used stop sticks when they spotted the vehicle again to flatten the tires. The suspect continued to drive recklessly and struck a sheriff's vehicle, which caused the vehicle to spin out. The suspect then refused to exit his vehicle and had to be pulled out of the car, and he was arrested facing multiple charges, felonies. Ormond Beach Police also came to Flagler County and charged him additionally with the crimes that were committed in their jurisdiction.
The driver, later identified as 30-year-old Stephen Hawksworth, was charged locally with fleeing and eluding law enforcement, reckless driving with property damage, and resisting arrest, while Ormond Beach Police charged Hawksworth with theft, battery, and fleeing and eluding for the case in their jurisdiction. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm John Arkin.
You've got a new place to park when visiting the Government Services Building in Bunnell. Karen Johnson has the details.
Flagler County officials say the parking lot is not only done ahead of schedule, but also within budget, costing about $615,000. Flagler County engineer Faith Al-Khatib.
It added 66 parking spaces. We had a great contractor on the job. They are local. They are familiar with our area. They did an excellent job. The weather did help us tremendously too.
Along with having ample parking spaces at the Government Services Building, the construction happened with as little disruption as possible, according to Al-Khatib. Today, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon in the new parking area, there will be a special ginger ale toast to celebrate the completion of the project. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
If you're wondering where the sheltering tree is, it moved. Sue Bickings, the chair of the Sheltering Tree Board, said the move is great.
The cold weather shelter is located at Church on the Rock. That's at 2200 North State Street in Bunnell. It's right across from the Atlantis storage center.
The Sheltering Tree moved from First United Methodist Church, where it had been for its first 12 years. Bickings said they've already had 2 nights at the cold weather shelter, and that tomorrow night, Tuesday, the 8th of December, the weather is expected to drop below 40 degrees in Bunnell, so they will open their doors. To listen to the interview with Sue Bickings, download the Flagler radio app and then go to the Free for All Friday podcast. Tomorrow, Bickings talks about rides to the Sheltering Tree. From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Rich Carroll.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's morning news. I'm Amy Cherry.